Welcome student. Today I am going to explain you the chapter 8. The chapter's name is Force, Work, Energy and Simple Machines. I already explained in this chapter online classes, but for better explanations, today I am going to take the video. I am making a video for this chapter. Okay. So what is the force, work and energy? First of all, let me explain you what is force. Force is what is pull and push. If this is an object, if I pull it and if I push it, so I have to apply something. So which one I am applying to make it push or make it pull? So this things is called force. So force is which one I will, if an object is there, so if I push this one, this side, or I pull this side, so I require something that is called force. Okay, so force is nothing but the word push or pull which we apply on an object is called force. Now, effect of force. So what is the effect of force? So a force can what? Can change the shape of an object, can change the shape of an object. If I now take this one, suppose this is an object. If I by applying force, I can just make it small. So means what? If I leave this one, then it will be like that. So the force can change the shape of the object, and force can change moving. Suppose this object is moving, or a ball, if I throw, if somebody is throwing a ball, so if I catch it, so by applying force I can stop the ball, and that means I can stop a moving object by applying force. So force can change the motion of a moving object. Okay, next, force can move a stationary object. If this object is a stationary, means at rest. So if I pull this, push this one, so or apply force this way by my hands, so it will move. Means object which is at rest, this one I can, by applying force, I can make it to move. Okay, so force can change the shape of the object. Force can make a moving object to at rest positions, and force can make a rest object into a motion. And the change of directions now, suppose during playing cricket, so when somebody, the bowler bowling towards the batsman, so batsman just hit, this one you know very much, so you hit the ball, and suppose ball is coming from here to the batsman is here and the bowler is here, so ball is coming this side, but when the batsman hit, the ball will go this side. Okay, means what? So the ball's directions at first was this side, but the batsman just hitting the ball, it makes this direction. So what the batsman applied? Batsman applied force. So force can change the directions of a moving object. This is a moving object, the ball is coming, it's a moving object, and force can change the directions of a moving object. And speed, change the speed of a moving object. Suppose when you are, perhaps you have seen, that means in the empty road, so what will happen? Perhaps you have seen if you are in a bus, so bus in empty road, that very less vehicles are there, then bus will move very fast. Okay, so can increase by applying. How it increase the speed of the bus? By applying force. And whenever, suppose it is moving too much, but it's near one market is there, marketplace is too much crowded. So when the bus will come near the market, it is too much crowded, then what? By applying force, so that bus can make slow. So in this way, the bus, we can increase the speed of a moving object by applying force, and we can slow down the moving object by applying force. So what are the conclusions we are getting? Force can change the shape of a object. Force can make a rest object into motion. Force can make a moving object into rest. Force can change the speed, make higher speed or lower less speed by the force, and force can change the shape or size of the object. So many effect on the force we can see. Now coming types of force. What are the types of force? In your chapters, types of force are frictional force, gravitational force, magnetic force, and electrostatic force. 4 types of force are. First is frictional force, second is gravitational force, third is magnetic force, and fourth is electrostatic force. So let me explain one by one. First is frictional force. Now see, I am writing here. See, the board surface is very rough, and this is a chalk is also rough. So when I writing, there is a friction. Frictions means, that means if this is one surface, this is another surface, if one object is just moving on another object in this way, the two surfaces are in contact and they just rub each other. So during rubbing to each other's surfaces, so what? There one force arises in between, where if it is like that, there is no frictional force. But as soon as the objects start to move on this surface like that, so there one force, in where it will arise? It will arise in between the contact surface of these two objects, means here and there. As when it will arise? As soon as the one object or both the object will start to move on each other. So this force is called the frictional force. So what is the nature of the force? When the force will arise, so nature of the force, if the object will move this one, the frictional force just pull it this side, back side. If it is moved this side, so the frictional force which is arise in the contact portions of the two surfaces, so it will pull this side. So that means the force which arise in between the contact portions of the two contact surfaces of the two objects when they are moving on each other, or that on a stationary object and one is moving on these surfaces. So one force is arise. This force is called frictional force, and this force always opposes the motion of the object. Okay, this is called frictional force. So what is the advantages of frictions? There are some advantages of frictions and some disadvantages. Means advantages means what are the help? Frictional force help in how many ways? So frictional force can, as we are walking on the floor, so due to the frictional force. Perhaps you have noticed that if the ground is very much slippery, so we can easily slip and fall. So why it happens? Because since the floor is too much plain, there is very less, if the surface becomes too much smooth, so the frictional force also very less. That means negligible, and that's why we can fall. So how we can walk nicely? If the surface is rough and if the surface is rough, then frictional force is also increased, and due to the increased frictional force, they pull at the back. Suppose we are going forward, so frictional force is pulling backward, and it is just acting like a controlling our speed. The frictional force, better to say, that's controlling our speed, and they just regulate our speed, and so that we work nicely on the floor without slipping. But if the floor is too much slippery, sometimes you are telling, oh please, Papa has said, Mama has said, you work nicely because water all is on the floor. So why? If the water is there, that frictional force decrease, and that's why you may slip very soon, very fast. So this, and if I write on the board, see, if I both the surfaces, this one rough, this one rough, so due to the frictional force, I can write here, okay, I can write easily. But if I have a chalk, and instead of these types of board, if you have provided, that means that a white board, can you write with this chalk? No. Why? Because in the white board, there the surface is very much smooth, so there is very less frictions, and since the friction is very less, so by this chalk we cannot write with this chalk. Okay, so frictional force help us to write on the board. Okay, so so many examples are there. Now here disadvantage of frictions. What are the disadvantages? How the frictional force just give the trouble to our regular work. So since we are walking on the floor, on the rough surface, too much frictional force is there, so it can tear the sole of the shoes. So after 1 year, you see that suppose this is your shoes, then this is your sole. So due to continuously walking on the rough surfaces, you will see slowly the sole will be out of order. So it can tear and torn your shoes also, and many other tires of the vehicles. Since the tires moving on the rough road, so after moving so many after 2-3 years, you will see the tires of the vehicles. That means the vehicle's tire. If you see that these are the tires of the vehicles. This one also due to the frictions on the road and the tire, continuous frictions, the tire also just out of order. So these are the trouble which the frictional force gives us in our regular life. Okay, now coming gravitational force. What is gravitational force? The gravitational force is the force, see, this is earth, this is earth, and you are standing here. So why we all on the surface of the earth now, many things are there. How they are just attaching on the surface of the earth, why they are not falling in the space? It is because that earth is attracting towards its center. This is the center. The earth is attracting all the objects, whatever the objects on the surface of the earth, with the force. This force is called the gravitational force. The force by which the earth attract us towards its center, and that's why we are not falling from the earth's surface. This force is called the gravitational force or gravity. Okay, so we have discussed frictional force and we have discussed the gravitational force. Now coming magnetic force. What a magnet you have seen. Now if I keep one magnet here, so magnet, you know, the two poles are there, and north pole and south pole. Okay, this is called north pole and south pole. Okay, so if I bring an iron bar here. So you see the iron will be attracted by this pole. And if I bring one iron bar here, then it also be attracted here. Okay, if you take a magnet and put on the iron filings or pins, suppose these are the iron pins, if you put a magnet here, this magnet you bring here, you will see all the pins will be lying like that. Okay, so in this way the force by which a magnet attracts other magnet or iron bar, iron object, this force is called magnetic force. So what is magnetic force? Magnetic force is the force by which a magnet, this is called magnet, which attracts an iron bar towards its this force is called magnetic force. Okay, now last one is electrostatic force. What is electrostatic force? Suppose a silk glass rod, if I rub it by one silk cloth, or see, these are good, or better now, this one not in your syllabus. If you take a comb you know, that one if you just comb your hair, so what you'll see that a person who comb like that, this is the comb, and if the boy comb his hair by this comb his hair, then after that what you see, the comb will attract the bits of paper. Okay, this is paper. Okay, this paper will be attracted by this comb. So why this, after during a winter season you can see this types of actions. So in dry seasons, if you comb nicely with a plastic comb, you comb your hair, then if some bits of small papers will write, then you put the comb inside near it, you will see that they will be attracted, the papers will be attracted by this. So by what force is gathered here? This force is due to the force by which the bits of paper is attracted by the comb. This force is called electrostatic force. Okay, because the molecules of the comb here, they are charged. They become, as we are giving the charge to the battery, so due to the combing our hair, the molecules or atoms of the combs, these materials, objects already charged, and this, due to this charge, one force arises. This force is, and this charge is not flowing, they are just stored in the comb, and due to this charge, these papers are attracted, and this force which is stored already in the comb is called electrostatic force. Okay, up to next video I will explain about the work. Okay, thank you.